What's going on? What's going on, good people? We apologize for the technical difficulties and getting started a couple of minutes late. But sit back, relax. We got a hell of a show for you today, and we got a damn great guest. So sit back and just enjoy. We got you covered. It's the BirdCage. Let's go.
Okay, y'all, this is it.
What's going on? You know how we get down. You either get right or you get left. You've tuned in, so you're getting right, so you don't get left. So let's go ahead and get this thing started off. We got my guy K-Dub in the building that's going to be coming in here with the interview questions with myself. We got a Atlanta Hawks legend, really an NBA legend and an NCAA legend coming in the building. We have Mr. Ollie Johnson in the building. You ready for this one, K-Dub?
I'm ready. Let's get into it. Go.
All right. No more debating. No more waiting. Let's go ahead and get to it. Welcome to the cage, Mr. Ollie Johnson into the cage. Welcome, sir. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks.
Hey, we definitely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come tap in with us tonight. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How have you been doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Just blessed. Family's doing well, in good health. So what could more a man ask for?
Man, you're absolutely right about it. You're on the right side of the dirt. Your health is there, and you're still in your right mind. It's definitely a blessing in the sky, sir. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Just a little bit about yourself. Where you're from. How did you get into basketball, and what really prompted you to become a professional athlete in your makeup?
I'm from South Philadelphia. For those of you who know Philly, not too far from 19th and South. All my formative years were spent there. I went to the Lincoln Day Nursery. I went to Smith School, Barrett Junior High School, then South Philly High. Started my college days at Community College of Philadelphia, and then transferred to Temple University. So I kind of slid into basketball sideways. I mean, I didn't start playing basketball. I played a lot of baseball. I didn't start really playing basketball until after high school. And I was probably almost 19 years old when I started playing under the whistle.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot of us who did. I'm not the only one, but I actually grew like 6 inches after high school. Right in my senior year, and then a couple years later, I grew about 6 inches, and I was really, when I finally got to Temple, I was really a basketball novice. So when the coach said jump, I asked him how high. And had no real history in it. So unfortunately for me, I had great coaches, and inherited a work ethic from my family, from my mom and dad. And it worked out for me. It's not, there's a lot of guys with talent. There's a lot of guys can play the game, but, in my mind, I was never going to be outworked and I paid attention. I've seen so many guys who were unbelievably skilled, but coach put them in a game, they don't know the plays. So, they wonder why they can't play. But it's a lot involved to play any professional sport or at a college, Division I college level.
Yeah.
Kind of fell into basketball. My main reason for going to college is I was making $1.35 an hour, and I wanted to do something with my life. So I enrolled in community college, and community college was just really starting back when I got into Philadelphia Community College. And I worked in the morning, and then I went to school full time in the afternoon, and then I went to practice at 4:30 in the evening. So I really could say that year that I was full time at community, that I put the work in, So life works out. You keep putting the work in. It just seems to work out. I mean, I had no dream of professional sports or anything like that. But playing in Philly in the Big Five, where it was so competitive, playing Villanova, LaSalle, St. Joe, University of Pennsylvania was a great team at the time. And Temple always played everybody. So, kind of thrown into the fire and learning on the job, because when I came to Temple had just won the NIT. And those guys, NIT was very big back in the 60s, as big as March Madness. So basically, they won a national championship. And fortunately for me, all those guys were seniors and they left. So they needed somebody, they needed a bigger body. And I was that guy. And there's no way that 4 years later that anybody would have thought that I would have played professional basketball. It wasn't even on my mind. But competition, great coaching, and putting in the work, got me there.
Okay. And getting to it, when you talk about your Temple career, you literally all Big Five, 1971, 72. You're a two-time MVP. You were one of the best players. And folks, when they talk about the Big Five here in Philly, if you don't know about it, I live up here, so I've heard of it. I was able to catch a couple of those games. Those are fierce games, and some of the best talent that is right here in the city. They go to all the local schools. A lot of them don't even have to leave. So when you talk about the local talent, and you were saying that some of the guys were just incredible and you weren't going to be outworked, did you ever get a chance to hone your skills on the blacktop and in the cages in the city and the playgrounds of Philadelphia during your time of learning the game?
Yeah, any player, your game is really honed in the summertime. You don't have time to be working on certain things, new stuff during the season. So I may have learned more watching than playing, because during those days you had to wait your turn. You had to wait your turn. And watching Ollie and Earl Monroe and other guys who played around the city, going to Baker League games and watching what pros do, I learned a lot about how the game is done, and just really sitting down talking to guys. And I would work out with guys from the Globetrotters who had all the tricks. I was never a tricky guy, but I did learn a lot from them. So, and some guys would come in town, we would work out together. The summer was the time. That's when I got better. That's when you work on your endurance. You're running 5 or 6 miles a day. And because during the season, you belong to the coach. And you belong to him 24/7. And you have to also go to class. So it was to me, when I look back at my days at Temple, it was a blur because I was always busy. I was always doing something, and but always trying to get better. And I had coaches pushing me all the time. Um, I thought my coach Norman didn't like me. He pushed me so hard, and never gave me a smile in 3 years, man. I remember a game, probably my best game in my 3 years at Temple. And I had done everything. I mean, defensively, scored, rebound. And I'm really, in basketball terms, I'm not really a big guy, and in college, I definitely wasn't. I had to gain about 20, 25 pounds when I went to the pros. And so I was dog tired. I'll never forget the game. I'm sitting on the floor, and all I could think of is, can I make it to my room? So I hear this guy cussing like, "Where's that Ollie Johnson at? Man, I got him." He runs into the back. They said he's on the floor. Like I was dog tired. We lost the game by 2 or 3 points. He said, "You missed 2 free throws. We would have won this game. That's an abomination. And I don't know what's wrong with you." And I didn't talk back to him. I thought he was crazy. But
Oh, man,
that's how he treated me, and he really pushed me. I talked to him. I kept in touch with him until his passing, and he said one day, he said a lot of things that he could do to me, he couldn't do to other guys because he may have not gotten anything out of him. So but I did tell him I thought he was nuts. But I told him many years after I graduated.
And want to make sure I give a shout out to Mr. Wally Jones. He's definitely in the chat right now. He's tuning in. He's one of our BirdCage alum. He came a couple of weeks ago and did an interview and talked about his career and without him, we wouldn't have been able to have you on the show. So we appreciate you, Mr. Jones, for blessing us with another Philadelphia legend such as yourself. So thank you. Now, before we get to your NBA career, because I know K Dub is very anxious to get on that. But getting back to it, you talked about the Summer League, you talked about Mr. Wally Jones, you talked about Earl the Pearl Monroe in the city, Chet Walker, all these legends that were in this city that played in the summer leagues. And, they have the G League now. What were those battles like in the summertime on these playgrounds and these tournaments with some of these NBA legends that you eventually squared off against when you got to the league? What was it like playing them in the parks back in the day?
Actually, when we played against those guys, most of the time we played in the Baker League, which is not in existence anymore. And guys would come, World Be Free, and guys would come down from New York. Doc and them would come down and play Philly Philly, New York games. Philly would go up and play Kareem and those guys and Archie Clark. It was just amazing the games that we were able to play in the summer. We played at Temple. We played at McGonigal Hall. And some of the best battles ever, because most of the guys who played in the Baker League were 6'7", 6, in that area. We didn't have Wilt messing the game up.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Those guys mess the game up for you. Like you can't be going inside and doing all that kind of stuff because they take it personal.
Did you get to play against Pee Wee Kirkland?
Pee Wee, I know Pee Wee, but he didn't play he's a couple of years older. I seen Pee Wee play. We'll go up Joe Hammond, the Hammer, and the Elevator, and the Helicopter, and those guys. I thought there was something in New York water. I had never seen anybody jump that high. Collectively. Those guys it was fascinating. It was a lot of fun. I don't think it'll ever be duplicated, but it was a lot of fun. But you had to bring your game. You had to get some sleep that night because guys were coming at you. And then we had some local guys who could really play. There was still the Eastern League, which was very popular back in the day. Guys really played hard. And the competition was great. And the other thing that was good about playing in the summer, and the Baker League is that a lot of the NBA officials would hone their skills in the league. So it really prepared me for the real game, you know. So for those of us who took advantage of it, it was preparation for when we had to go up against Wilt and we had to go up against Kareem and you know, on the real stage.
Okay, Doug.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to touch on when you got drafted into the NBA, going out to Portland. How was it, being out in Portland in the early 70s? Give me a backdrop.
That's an interesting story because things were just not publicized like they are now.
Okay.
And think about what was during the Vietnam era. I remember walking down, I was on Broad Street, I was still taking class, and a guy hollered at me and said, "Man, the office just told me you got drafted." So I sat down. I was depressed because I thought he was talking about the Army. And
we met, so
I had to go in the Army that day. So, but I didn't know much about the NBA at the time. You know, I was so focused on college and getting graduating and doing whatever. And when I went out to Portland, when I finally did go to camp, it was hard because we had like 25 guys come out, and myself and a guy named Bobby Fields, who was a really good player from LaSalle, we were roommates, and we supported each other and hyped each other up. And like I'm like, Bobby, you better than that dude, man. You need to go at him. He'd be like, "Oh, you could get him." Like, so, I had my cheerleader in my room.
Yeah. I got you.
So, I'm like, "Bob, man, just go over there. I'm gonna get you, man. I got you." So I had my cheerleader in my room, and I made it. He didn't make the team, but he probably should have. But moving to Portland was quite an experience. The first time I ever lived outside of Philadelphia. I had to grow up real quick. I'm 3,000 miles away from home. I just learned how to drive, and Portland doesn't have public transportation. You get spoiled in Philly. You don't have to drive.
Yeah.
Because the bus or the subway drops you off 2 blocks away from the house. So it was just such an experience, and playing with, rookie camp is one thing, but then when the guys, the real dudes come in,
them starters,
you got to take your game up another level. So we had some good play. I mean, we were an expansion team basically, but guys like Sidney Wicks and Jeff Petrie were the stars. Jeff Petrie's he's local, one of the great shooters of all time. His career was cut short by injury. But it's rookie camp is a whole lot different than when the vets come in, and then it's different when you start playing against other teams.
Yeah,
and you realize how really big dudes are, man. Just
I guess. So also, go ahead, historian.
No. I was saying he was talking about Portland. I was just gonna throw this, ask him, and then you can go to that question. What was it like with Bill Walton around?
I didn't play with Bill. I had left before Bill got in.
Okay, because I know
playing against him was a nightmare.
Playing against him.
Yeah. Bill was
never mind. So he answered my question, K-Dub. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Nah. I was gonna say, I always ask a lot of these players to come on. One of my favorite questions, like, who's the toughest person to go in your era? Doing it.
Wow. I played small forward, so I never had a night off. I mean, everybody, in Seattle, they had Spencer Haywood and other guys.
Yeah. Haywood.
Spencer Haywood, bad boy, man. Rick Barry down in San Francisco. Jamal Wilkes played. Elgin Bell in LA, and it's just unbelievable, man.
But it's like because when you play sports, it's always that one guy. Like, man, go it's this guy here, man. You know, everybody's great, but it's just this one. It's usually this one character or this one person that just really gives you a tough go. So I just try to out there was one of the questions that, like I said. But also, you know, the longevity that you had into the league. I mean, you know, talk to the people and talk to our subscribers and listeners about how long, you know, the dedication and determinability you take to play that long, to actually play 10 seasons in the league. So pound and pound upon that.
I think for me, you know, life was about moderation. And I tell my kids, you know, have fun, but don't have too much fun. And you know, I kind of lived like that. I mean, I enjoyed myself, and I never really let myself get out of shape, even in the summer. Um, and you know, I listened to nutritionists and things like that. And you know, I never really had a major injury, fortunately. I mean, I got my nose broke, but I played the next day. But other than that, you know, just very fortunate that I took the advice of trainers and nutritionists, and I got my rest. I had to get my rest, man, because I was messing with a gangster every night. I mean, particularly on the West Coast, because there weren't as many teams as there are now. So we may play Seattle 8 times. And guys get to know who you are and you know who they are. So
it's kind of like playing
you
in
still
the playoffs.
perform. Yeah, it's like we're playing in the playoffs year round.
Yes, like man, you see the same person over and over and over.
Yeah.
And they know your game inside and out. So I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, and the game changed again during my career when the ABA and the NBA merged. The game got quicker. They brought the 3-point shot in and a little, you know. Then you got Doc and a lot of guys. George Gervin came into the league, so the game did change even for us during my 10 years.
Yeah, I guess.
When you speak about those guys that came in, you talked about Spencer Haywood, you talked about Doc. We're gonna get to Doc because again, that's a subject I love to touch on. But get into so you leave Portland, you head to New Orleans. What was it like playing for the New Orleans Jazz back in the day, and what was the atmosphere like for you guys before that team moved to Utah?
Plant, because when I moved to New Orleans, they were a new team, expansion team. They were trying to figure it out, and they built it around Pete Maravich, who was just unbelievable. So, you know, Pete could take 40 shots, and it was all right. So it was kind of difficult as a for me. I mean, in the beginning, but the game is the game. I mean, that's the thing that I did learn. I mean, there's only so many things you can do on a basketball court. And either you play fast, you play slow, you play a more organized game or helter-skelter. There's not a whole lot that you can do on the court that's different. Just other teams execute their plays a little better. Now, I knew all of Boston's plays. I knew when they were coming, but there's nothing I could do about it because they executed so well. They only had like 5 or 6 plays.
Because the thing is, when you played against Boston back in the day, you talk about John Havlicek, you talk about Dave Cowens, you talk about JoJo White. I mean, many of those Celtics at that time, you know, I've heard stories to where they say it was just a pain in the behind to play against those guys because you knew what they were going to do and you couldn't stop it.
Couldn't do nothing about it. And Havlicek was a nightmare because he never. You see how Curry moves? That was John Havlicek.
And Havlicek was a big dude,
about 6'6", 6'7", years like that.
But Curry's not that big. That's what I'm saying. Havlicek, good lord.
Yeah, Havlicek was tough, man.
Moving.
And then after that era, Larry Bird comes along. So yeah,
but I mean.
Pick your poison, right?
So when you came into the league, you know, Wally talked about Boston, his dealings with him and just the wars that he would have being a Sixer.
Mm-hmm.
You went to Chicago at the time and you played with I'm sorry, I'm not gonna skip that. You know what, K-Dub, I'm not even gonna skip that. I'm gonna let you get to it because he got on the shirt right now. He got to talk about the home team first before we get to that. Go ahead, K-Dub. I'm gonna let you have this one. I'm not gonna take that thunder from you, big dog.
For him, it's time with the Hawks.
Yes, sir. This is you.
Okay. I mean, okay. All right. Well, I mean, your time in Atlanta. I know you wasn't here a brief, but how was your stay in time and playing in Atlanta? Talk to the listeners and viewers about that.
Well, when I went to Atlanta, I was the oldest player on the team,
Okay.
and so I was looked upon as kind of keeping order, and because most of those guys were rookies. Like Tree Rollins was a rookie, Charlie Chris was a rookie, Fast Eddie Johnson was a rookie, and it worked out great because we were touted to like do absolutely nothing that year, but Coach Brown is like a basketball genius, man. Just he got everything out of us. We pressed full court, 82 games and into the playoffs. We focused on defense. The goal was to get 10 more shots than the other team, and we were fast break even on a make sideline break. So it was different. It was different. The pace was different, and a lot of things I see now came from that time, the zones and things like that, because we play a 1-2-2 full court press, or the principles are the same as man. The zone
Terminology
helps a lot when you play man to man. To understand the zone helps a lot when you play man to man because you're responsible for help, for areas, and boxing out and all that kind of stuff. So having played zone all of my college career, I had a good understanding what he was doing. Hubie was great at explaining stuff and teaching. He was a great teacher. Hubie was hard to play for because he never took a day off. We got off Sundays, and we had to go to church and pray that we could get to the week with him. So, Hubie was a stickler for detail, and I never played for a coach that worked that hard. I think that's why he had to stop. I mean, he just put so much into it. He was a great team builder. And we went on
even when he does TV. No, I didn't want to cut you off. I said even though when he does TV, he puts a lot into it. When he's commentating.
Oh yeah, he understands. He's a great clinician too. I saw Hubie in a clinic prior to playing. I think I was in college and we were in the Pro Poconos, and he did a clinic up there. Amazing teacher. I mean, that was definitely his calling. Tough coach, kind of no nonsense, and I hate to practice. I always did never like practicing, but it was a necessary evil. And but coach was good at we give me a good hour today, and we never practice more than 60 minutes if we practice well. And he was very consistent in how he taught. He was very conscious of time. And he always had my attention because I didn't have to worry about, man, we might practice 3 hours. Some coaches do that. He was very organized, and you could count on him doing what he said he's going to do. And the other thing about Atlanta, what was great was Ted Turner. Ted was a very accessible. It was unbelievable. And to be able to talk to a Ted Turner when he's just building his empire is just fascinating. We had conversations that I'll never forget. that kind of helped me in my life. Although I was the oldest player, I was only 28. I mean, everybody else was rookies, and I think Armand Hill was in his second year. So I had a good. Atlanta's a great town. Atlanta's a great town. It's a great town.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
getting
it's
to
I want
it.
to stay here longer than that.
So
Go ahead.
I don't want to forget these guys because again, we've talked about it. We got our family that's tuning in from We Talk Hawks TV. Shout out to Demond, Foot, and all those guys. A1 is tuning in right now, the Hawks Report. So Demond, we wanted to make sure that we gave you a shout out with Mr. Ollie Jones. You guys over at We Talk Hawks TV. We had to bring a local in, so hopefully this actually can make you guys a little happy because you got a little insight on what the Hawks were like back in the day.
Good luck in the draft.
Two big men. Man with them picks.
Oh my gosh.
So when you look at it, after you leave Atlanta, you end up going to Chicago, and you play in Chicago for a bit. You started off and you had a young Reggie Theus coming into that team. What was it like playing with a young Reggie Theus, and then you play with Scott May, Artis Gilmore? What was that team like during that time in Chicago before you got traded to your hometown 76ers?
I love the city. I mean, I have family there. I was very close to retiring there, but when I thought about the Chicago Winners, I just couldn't do it. But I love the city. I love the city. But Reggie was a wild child, man. He was just like, you get the ball, he was out. So I had to pick up my pace playing with Reggie. Reggie was a good player. I'm still in touch with Reg. Reg is down at Bethune-Cookman. He's athletic director down there. But he was a wild child, man. Pretty Ricky. That's what we call him.
Well, I mean, he was light skinned with the curly hair and everything.
Yeah.
Didn't have a scratch on his face. I can see why. Now, I'm not gonna lie. It's cool to see that he is giving back because on this show we support HBCUs heavy on this show. So I ain't gonna lie. I'm in my feelings a little bit about what he did. Between the little rift between him and one of my favorite players and Ed Reed. I loved Ed Reed coming up. But I just hated that went down between those two, and I'm not gonna get into that because it's not what this is about.
Right.
But I just like the fact that we're seeing more professional athletes give back to HBCUs, regardless, because it's so much talent that's tapped in with those schools, and a lot of those guys don't get those opportunities as they should. And it's a beautiful thing to see him down there really trying to help that program out and really trying to change some things down there. But getting to Philly, how did you get to Philly? And you got to Philly right in time when the Sixers went to the NBA Finals against a legendary point guard, as they would call him. What was that experience like coming home and playing for your hometown Sixers and playing for the finals?
Of the other teams I played with, other than the short time I was with the Lakers, Philly was the easiest team to play with. Wow. Because all I had to do was me. I didn't have to do anything extra. They were defensive minded, which is my wheelhouse. Bobby Jones, Mo Cheeks, probably the two best guard forward tandem to play defense maybe ever. And it was just easy to play for those guys, play with those guys. And we all played to our strengths. And when I did get an opportunity to play, it was like welcoming. It was just all about winning. It wasn't about so much ego. And I played for great teams and I played for lesser teams. And usually the really good teams, it's all about winning, man. It's not about running to the scores table, You didn't pass you the ball, all that kind of foolishness. But I felt very comfortable, and Billy Cunningham was a great coach for veterans because we had a veteran team, and we had Doc, Chocolate Thunder, Carwell Jones. He managed us because guys knew what to do.
And you had another great coach on that bench.
He didn't have to overcoach.
But you also had another legendary coach on that bench as well that went on to coach the Bad Boys, Chuck Daly.
Yeah.
What was Chuck like in his early years before he became a head coach when he was an assistant for the Sixers during that time?
I think it's a difference. When it's your team, you take a step back. His real coaching thing came in when he went to Detroit, as far as I'm concerned. They had a good mix. I'm trying to think of the scout. I'll think of his name in a second. They had a good mix of scout, assistant coach, and coach. I mean, it was a good marriage, the three of them. And Chuck Daly was very knowledgeable, but it was Billy Cunningham's team. So, once you move that one seat over, it's a whole different ball game because now it's your decision. You're the guy that gets fired, or you're the guy that gets all the credit or takes all the heat. So it was amazing to see him with Detroit. But one of the things that was consistent, he was always cleaning the board of health.
And that hair was always immaculate.
Right, yeah.
It never, if you ever noticed, he could be sitting there fussing. The hair never moved.
Yeah. That's tight in the windstorm, man.
God rest his soul. But did he use a lot of hairspray, or was it just natural when he combed it back?
I have no idea how he did it. I must have seen that up in that thing never moved.
Jail even back then.
And here's the crazy part, K-Dub. Guess who they had as a first-round pick and a rookie on that team? He was one of my favorite players that I remember looking at. Yep, Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler. I'm a diehard fan, but Lord.
If Andrew hadn't gotten hurt, I mean, he came in with the league, he had problems with his feet, but, technology has changed in 50 years. Had he not
he'd be ready to go.
Gotten hurt, we're talking Hall of Fame easy.
When you talk about shooting guards, and I know you were talking about so many of those guys, what was it like to be around? What was Dr. J like around this organization? Because I already know in the city of Philadelphia, Dr. J is as untouchable as Chuck McNarick was in this city. God rest his soul. And if for those who don't know who Chuck McNarick is, that's the famous Eagles linebacker who knocked out Frank Gifford in a playoff game to send them to the championship, which was considered their Super Bowl back in the day. He'll always be famous, Concrete Charlie. But those two guys outside of Joe Frazier, it was just like, what was it like being around Doc, and what was it like playing with Dr. J?
Yeah, I had played against them. But coming, it's different when you play against a guy and when you play with them. Like Doc was first class, was very welcoming when I first came to the team. I sat between Doc and Chocolate Thunder. As different as night and day. To the right of me was a real joker. That man was funny, man. He always
came country boy from Florida. I expected.
Yeah, man, he was great. He was great. It was great. Dal Dawkins was one of a kind.
Yeah,
man. And then Doc was more of the Harvard professor sitting on the other side. So, but Doc was first class, man. And I always say we all have our nights. We're great, but Doc was great every night, man. Just incredible to see things that he does, and always handled himself in a first class manner. He's a good guy, man. I mean, just good guy. There's a guy that's, certain guys were under a lot of pressure because he was the face of the league at the time, but he handled it.
Yeah, he handled it. Face of the league at that time.
No doubt.
Hey, K Dub, I'm gonna transition my last question when it comes to this, and I'm gonna let you just go at it with a couple of questions, talking to him about the rest of his NBA career, and then we'll transition into what he did after he retired. But I want to know, where were you? Were you on the floor or were you on the bench when Doc had his infamous layup to where he was walking in air, had air brakes, went up under the rim, and kissed it off the glass against the Lakers? Where were you at
I
when that happened?
I wasn't on the team then. That was before I came to Philly. But me and my friend were at the game, and everybody held their breath for like 10 minutes. Nobody believed what they were seeing. I was at the game. I was home. Our bull season was over.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the summer before. That was the year before I came to Philly. And, the TV doesn't do it. The replay doesn't do it justice. It's like time stood still, man. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And they still show that. I mean, when you see the clips of it on NBA Network, you look at, Doc was trying to figure out, trying to get to a championship, and just how his journey was being the face of the league. He had 2 ABA championships, and for him to, people don't realize that Doc changed his game just to win a championship. People don't really realize how great of a scorer he was back in the day, and how he could dominate. And I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I grew up as a Jordan fan, no lie. But he could just take over a game like it was nothing, and did it with ease. What was it like playing against him and guarding him?
I probably averaged 5 fouls a game when I played against him. I mean, guys like Julius Erving, Chet Walker, and guys like that. The goal is not to let them get in their sweet spot. So I never let him dunk on me. I never let him post me up. I put him on the foul line, because I don't care how much defense you play. The goal is to make a great player like that take more shots to get his average. I mean, that's about all I can do. I did my best to keep the ball out of his hands. The good thing about the league is you only got 24 seconds to get the ball up. So I did everything I could do to keep the ball out of his hands. One of the things I learned from Doc, and I see it all the time now, is if Doc has the ball coming down the middle, I got to pick him up at the top of the key, or I'm dunked on. I learned that from watching him. And playing against him long before, because the brother could fly, man, and he was strong up top. And anybody's hands bigger than mine should be outlawed. So,
yeah. Hey, look, so the Hack and Shack was even going back then. It was Hack a Doc. So the same concept applies. A great.
Well, that was my philosophy.
Okay.
That wasn't a league philosophy. That was if I was in danger. If I felt any danger at all, he was foul. He was going to foul line.
Oh man!
I mean,
because you don't want to get him started.
Yeah,
and I remember one time. This is another story. A guy named Mickey Johnson was a really good player for us in Chicago. The coach decided that I was too small to guard Doc, so he put Mickey on him. Now I left. I was like, this. I got a night off. I don't have to play that joker. So I was happy. So Mickey came and said, well, how do you guard him? I said, Mickey, you just can't let him get started. You can't let him get the ball in certain areas, because you can't stop him. I mean, he's a converted guard. I mean, and he's just great first step. And so anyway, the coach was starting to he wanted to put me on the game. Doc had already had 30. And this was like almost in the first half. So he looked at me and he said, can you get him? I said, it's too late now, brother. Because once the scorer sees that ball go in the hole a couple times, it's toast. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know how I did on it, but
oh.
I'm sure it was a bad night for me and Mickey that night.
But also, just is going back to playing against teams that you had back in the day. Was that the start of the Showtime era? Did you play against that, or that was right before?
Magic came in. I was probably near the end of my. I think it was he came in about in 80, came in 80 or 79 to 80.
Yeah.
So that was later.
Okay.
But LA was as long as you have Kareem, you got a shot.
Yeah,
LA was always a tough team to play against.
Okay.
My rookie year was, I don't know which was a better team, the Showtime or the Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West era. I don't know which was the better team.
Okay.
But they were tough, man. Jerry West,
I mean, just
Bill Goodrich, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain. Incredible, man. So that was a nightmare rookie year because we had to play them 8 times too. So
Man,
LA was beaten so bad one day. This is a true story.
And just think about it. Now
it was the third quarter. LA was beating us so bad. Guys left the court on my team. They was taking a shower because they thought the game was over. We had to go get enough guys. Thought the game was over.
Now you mentioned the name.
Oh man.
Now you mentioned the name. I feel like that doesn't get enough respect. And that's maybe because, he didn't get a championship, which I think is criminal that they don't give him respect. No disrespect to Kevin Durant, because I know he's sensitive if you say something about him. He's not the best basketball player to come out of Washington, D.C. I'm sorry. I got to get that to Elgin Baylor. He had a little bit longer of a legacy, but Elgin Baylor was just, from reading God Rest His Soul, the legendary John Thompson's book, Once I Came a Shadow, he talked about it. He said, Elgin Baylor was doing everything Michael Jordan was doing long before Jordan touched the league. Can you testify to that?
Elgin Baylor was the assistant coach when I was in New Orleans.
Wow.
And his leg was messed up, but he always wanted to play, one-on-one. And his career was over. He was still the best player he was the best forward 10 years after his retirement.
You got to be kidding.
That good, man. Unbelievable.
Dang.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And he was so strong.
So what was the most dangerous part about, when you talk about how you said you didn't have enough, you had Spencer Haywood, who was definitely he was country strong, of course, Mississippi boy in the paint. You had Elgin Baylor, who was strong but very graceful. I mean, was a guy that just gave you problems and you couldn't do anything with him anytime you stepped in front of him.
There was I thought for me, the toughest guy was 2 guys who, because they were different, like Chet Walker and Bobby Dandridge were like really tough, man, because Bobby played off schedule. When he was going up, everybody was coming down and he ran all day. And Chet was just so smooth, man. And another guy who was tough, but he moved to guard, fortunately, and that was Ice. Actually, I thanked him when he stopped playing forward. I actually walked over to him and said,
and we got to give a shout out to Mr. Bobby Dandridge, because he came into the cage and he did an interview for us and he talked about his career. Shout out to Mr. Bobby Dandridge or whatnot, Greyhound, as they called him back in the day.
Yeah, so
wow.
The championship in Milwaukee and the championship in
Washington.
Like they don't talk about him, but he was the guy.
He was Kawhi Leonard that never had load management, literally.
Yeah. Oh no. Even in my career, I think I averaged probably like 78 games. Some years I played the whole season. I heard Oscar say one day, that he played every game because he thought somebody else might take his place if he sat down. So what am I
Oscar
supposed
Robertson was different.
to
Jesus.
do? That's an understatement. When
That,
I heard him say that, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Right?
and
Yeah.
and man talked about when he played up there. He said I didn't have no problems with him. He said he couldn't say anything because he said I did my job and he said I got off. But he said he and Mr. Dandridge said he was different. Him and Kareem, he said those two made my job easier. And then when he went to Wes Unseld, as he was saying, he said people don't talk about how good Wes was, even though he's a Hall of Famer. They don't talk about he had bad knees and he was still giving people problems.
Only time I got knocked out in my whole life, and I grew up in South Philly, was in a lot of fights, never got knocked out. I was guarding a guy, I think his name was Mike Reardon, and I had shut Mike down the first half. He was their scorer, great shooter. But again, I wouldn't let him get the ball, and he was left-handed, so I made him go right. So anyway, they must have had a meeting at halftime, and Mike was coming down court full speed, and I got a Wes Unseld pick, man. I was out. I remember getting on my knees, calling timeout. All I could see was stars. And I walked over to the big fella. I said, if you just wanted him open, you just should have told me. You had to kill me. He laughed, but I was out. I took that standing 8, man. I thought I had one or two. I thought a Mack truck had hit me, you know.
He said, I thought a Mack truck.
Jeez. So he was that solid. Good Lord.
Yeah, 6'6", 3 whatever.
Man.
And just strong, man. But a great guy, man. Just great guy. But I'll never forget that. That's the only time I was out on the court or anywhere else in my whole life, man. It's just yeah, Wes. Yeah, real man.
So lastly, transitioning, you retire from the NBA, you become you get into the workforce or whatnot. You become an athletic director at Philadelphia Community College, just right here in Philadelphia, PA. How did you come about with that position, and what prompted you to getting into the educational side of things with the school and helping them out athletically?
Well, I had always, although I played other places, I still had my home back here. And I always volunteered in the city temple and community. And community was building a gym. And I talked to the athletic director, and he talked to me about the possibility of an opening. I've always worked or been a part of youth, whatever, with the YMCAs, volunteering here and there, part of a very successful summer camp here in Wilmington, even when I was playing. So I was actually hired to do intramurals and activities and game management. I was the assistant athletic director early on. And, I had my degree. So, I'm more than qualified for the position, although I had never worked in education. And it was a natural. I mean, I enjoy going to work every day. And the kids, man, were just what I was about. And my family, my mother, my father, and my sister always talked about the next generation. So it was always about that for me. And I knew I would get into some area, not necessarily education, but some area that had something to do with youth. And, I tell my kids, just keep putting the work in, the Lord will put you in that spot, man. I found my sweet spot, and I just really loved what I did. Had a lot of fun. Probably people didn't think I was working, but I was working. We had great programs. We sent hundreds of kids on to 4-year schools. And, our department was touted as the number one area, small population that kids were transferred, graduated, or retained. It wasn't just like Sonny Hill, who is from Philly, talks about basketball as a carrot. Sports basically for me was a reason that kids came to school, because I had a lot of parents come in and say, "I'm thinking about taking my son out of the program
Mm.
because he's only a B student." And my reaction was, he might not even come to school if you take him out of baseball, if you don't
Yeah.
let him run track. He might not even come to school. So, students, when they're involved in something, it's more than academics. I mean, who wants to go to math class? I
Yeah.
mean, you do it, but you would play sports for free. You would play sports if for whatever. Guys are out here playing basketball in the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was more of that. We had a great facility, and I try to keep it open as much as I can. We had 10 sports, intramurals, city activities. I mean, it was a center of activity, and we were fortunate to be able to convince young men and young women that this is a college and you have to go to class. And many of them did, and many of them that I'm still in touch with have more than succeeded because of that time at community. And it was great. It was great for me, and um, hopefully we made a difference in a few lives.
Mm. Man. And you look at everything that you've done and you've accomplished, and when you talk about having an impact in the community, I really I really feel as if that's something that's very important, because there are a lot of people who get to the point of, like you were saying, they have qualifications, they've done things in life, and they keep a lot of stuff to themselves. You, Mr. Wally Jones, and so many others that we've had on this show that have been in positions to help young people and just push them along to, if they're not athletes, just to be successful in life as citizens.
Mm.
You guys have had a hand in that. What really prompts and motivates you to continue that type of trend to try to help young people or people that need help?
I think it has a lot to do with how I was raised and what I heard all my life. Christian Street YMCA is a pillar of South Philly, and a lot of us came through the Y system.
Mhm.
And it was always preached about the next generation. My parents, again, and my sister, who is in Virginia, always talked about the next generation and doing something to have an impact on those who come after you. Wiley came up in his area. Wiley and those guys did Christian Street too, although they weren't from South Philly. But Christian Street YMCA is famous for a lot of things, and a lot of guys who didn't live in South Philly would come to South Philly and play basketball there
Mhm.
in the leagues there. Earl Monroe is from South Philly, and a lot of other guys. And it was just part of the culture, man, where we would just, guys would take me under their wing, and I would take somebody else coming along under my wing. It was just a part of how we did things. Um, and it worked out. I mean, just so much success came out of the Christian Street YMCA because of the men who made us take our hats off at the door. We would fight, but I never saw a fight in the Y. Never. In the many years that I went to Christian Street YMCA, that was our safe haven. And we had men who kept order, and there was just respect. Because the worst thing in the world to hear is that you can't come in here for a month. Like, so what am I going to do? You know? And the other thing is that we had parental support. So I better not get a bad report from Mr. Morton in my home because I did something stupid at the Y. So it was a focal point for us. And we were groomed to do some of the things that we've done.
And it's a fan, and when you talk about, and I say I've lived in Philly since 2015. Military brought me here. I came back after I got out, and you know, when I look at it, and the thing that I've learned, it's a tough city. It's just what it is. It's blue collar. It's tough. You can't be soft to live here. It's the honest to God truth. Yeah. But the one thing that I can say is huge here is community. The one thing, it never changes. It can be, everybody knows the reputation for some of the places, North Philly, West Philly, some parts of South Philly are a little rough. But the one thing that they do, they look out for their own. They look out for these local athletes that are here. And, you know, it's still the streets are the streets. It's just what it is. But a lot of the time, they really try to help these kids that have promised to make it, to get away from this stuff. So, you know, and I tell like I was telling K-Dub and so many of these guys, I tell them, I'm like, look, if they're not playing basketball, what they're doing, they're in these gyms, boxing, gym wars. Most of these kids are trying to get out of here one way or another. So when you look at the local sports and how the communities take care of these kids, it's amazing when you speak on this culture, just like Mr. Jones did. But got one question for you before we wrap up and let you go. And this is from one of our viewers. Shout out to my guy, Millie Mills. He's down in Wilmington, Delaware, just like you are. So he's found. He wanted to know, who's your top 5 in the NBA right now? Your top 5 players in the league right now.
Okay. The Joker.
Joker.
SGA.
Oof. Okay.
Let's see now. I'm so proud of Jalen Brunson. Who would have thought? Who would have thought he would be that good?
He's tough. Atlanta kid, real tough.
And I'm going to give it to the veterans. I'm going to give it to Curry and LeBron for their longevity.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I love KD. I mean, just I got to put him as my 6th man. I mean, it's just he can go. He is so
because he got some longevity too now.
He been in the game for some years.
KD is a guy that fits in any situation, man. He could play for anybody.
Yep.
You know, everybody can't play with everybody, but KD is low maintenance. And he gonna give you bucks.
I like that.
Tough, man.
It's only right that we got to bring this back to the Hawks. And K-Dub, I know you got one for him, but I'm gonna toss one out, and I'm gonna toss you with Allen. But see, my feelings is hurt because you know you left out Trae Young. I can't even lie. Ice Trae is a killer, and I understand about the defensive liability because you're a defensive specialist, so I understand. How do you feel this organization is going to go with Trae Young for the rest of the time that he's here? Because he wants to stay here. He wants to help this city win a championship. What do you think it takes for this city to get to the point to where we could be coming down Peachtree Street with the NBA championship trophy from the city of Atlanta, even though we got one from St. Louis?
I think you got a great baseball team now.
Yes, sir.
I think that Larry Brown kind of set the blueprint for when you have a small guy. He got guys who played with Allen Iverson. Allen was the guy, of course, but he got guys who could block shots. George Lynch was a heavyweight. You got to get guys who can play with this guy. I mean, this guy's special, and he can give you 40 on a given night. But if you want to keep him, I think you got to put people around him. that complement him. If he's going to be your focal point, you got to get people around him. Very much like they did with Allen Iverson.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
I'm not a GM, but if I had to copy something, I would copy that when got my man, stop blocking.
Mutombo. That hurt a lot of us when he left Atlanta. That really hurt a lot of us because he was such a pivotal figure in the community. I met him when I was 12. I met him when I was 12, and he still stayed in the city. I met him at Chantrell's right over in the West End. Him, Steve Smith, and Chucky Brown were all coming out, and this is during the time when they actually had the playoffs in the Georgia Dome at that time when the Omni was torn down, and they were coming out, and I just remember looking up at him.
Big guy, right?
And he was one of the nicest people. Yeah. Smitty was one of the coolest guys. Still love Steve Smith.
I met Steve.
Chucky was nice. K-Dub, what do you have for him on the Hawks end, man? One last thing.
Like I said, he talking that talk, man. I mean, that's the same thing I said. They put people around Trae Young, but you got to put the right people, the right pieces around him. I mean, they've tried guys, but you got to find guys that the cohesion is right, that they play off each other and they play with each other in the right way. Like I said, you swung for the fences and missed, but yes, got to continue to put guys around Trae Young to make him even better than what he is and make them great, because that's what he is a true point guard to bring out their games. Just like they continue to try to reinvent the wheel around LeBron James, you have to do the same thing around Trae. You can't keep putting root around this guy. You got to put guys around him that want to win championships around him, to play excellent defense, cover up his mistakes. He could add all up their deficiencies and get them the basketball. Maybe they're there now, got great shot creators, but he can also get them in great situations with his excellent passing. Moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's important, man, to when you have a guy who's special, to build around him, because he plays hard. He's very much like Allen. I'm not saying he's Allen Iverson, but very much like him. Just put the ball in the hole and can pass. And one of the problems with some guys who can pass, they don't have nobody to pass to. So you got to have guys that can put the ball in the hole. And you got to have guys that get that ball off the rim.
I hope Mr. Wrestler is listening to this.
We already got it. That's good.
You think about it. They gave him a great defender with Dyson Daniels, who literally improved this year. And then you look at Jalen Johnson, he got injured, unfortunately. Zach Richardson, we got to put some more weight on him. He's still light as a bedpan. And, it's just to the point now where I think we have pieces, but I think, you got to get him a big man down below. And there's no disrespect to Double O, but we got to get better rebounding in the paint offensively. And we've got to have a defensive presence. If I'm picking somebody, I know it might sound crazy, Mr. Johnson. I'm going to go get that kid Broom out of Auburn. You're talking about 6'11", almost 7 feet tall, 240 pounds, has a mid-range jumper, can play inside with his back to the hoop, and definitely is a rebounding machine because he's averaging 10 rebounds, 4 blocks a game, and averaging in between 15 to 17 points a game inside consistently on a bag.
I like Broom, but I know I looked at all the big men coming out. I like 3 big men. I like the 2 centers coming out of Memphis and the center out of Duke. Those are the 3 guys that I got my eye on. And if we take 2 out of those 3, I think really help this program turn around, this organization, because those guys are fiery. That's what I did the whole college season, was look at every big man coming out. And Broom, I think he's just a good college big man. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but
no, I'm not knocking it, because I think he's very competitive when you look at the fire, because when they lost that game against Florida, that sent Florida to the national championship, that wasn't on him. He played his butt.
I know he was injured, but I've seen a lot of him because he came out the SEC.
Yeah.
And it took him a while to to get to the players. I'm not knocking his game, but I just feel like he's not going to be the right fit for Atlanta just moving forward. But
I think the kid you talked about is good. I'm just gonna be real. I think he'll look soft to me. That's just me. I think he'll look soft. If we get him, maybe he'll be tough, just like Mr. Johnson was. Just saying.
I mean, but he's a lot bigger. He's 7'2". He's a lot bigger than Broom, and we need size. You can't size don't grow on trees, so that's what we need. We need size and rebounding. And he did play for a pretty good Duke team, so he's had good coaching up there. I mean, that's just who I have my eyes on.
There's nothing wrong with it. I actually think he can play.
It's not really a deep
and I know
draft. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Johnson, with all the teams that you played for, lastly, before we let you go, which team do you keep up with? All the teams that you play for, or do you have specific teams that you watch that you play, or do you watch all your teams that you play for? And who do you
watch the league?
I just like sports. I mean, I like to be entertained. So, right now I've been watching a lot of OKC. I watch Golden State when Steph is healthy. There's a lot of good players, man. Kyrie Irving has as good a handle as I've ever seen. Hopefully he can come back and be healthy. They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be tough. If we can get Anthony Davis on the court, they have a nice team. I really enjoy the young up and comers like Detroit, OKC. Cleveland had a nice year.
What about Houston? You like Houston too?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, the coach is he's an incredible coach, man. Put together an incredible program, and got a lot of guys. I mean, these teams have like 10 guys that can go. All of these teams have 10 guys that can go. OKC has 2 big men that can play on the court at the same time. And
that's what makes them special, man.
They're tough, man. No rebounds, no rings.
They went and got the big man. They went and got that big man.
Did you see the Boston game? Did you see the Boston game yesterday? Boston, New York.
Yeah, that was a very old school type of game. Tough, and physical.
What's the kid's name?
Brunson?
He's a center. No,
not Brunson.
He won the game he's a bench player.
I can't think of his name right off.
For the Knicks
or something like that. No. For Boston.
Man.
No, he's talking about not Porzingis.
Fournette, or is that his name? Or?
I think that might be Porzingis. I'm not sure.
I can't think of his name, but he's not a starter.
Was it? No, let me see. So you say he's not a starter. Porzingis is a starter. It's got to be.
Is it a Fournette? Is that his name, or am I thinking?
Is it Sam Hauser?
Nope.
No. No, it's Luke Cornett. Yeah, it's Cornett. Luke Cornett. That's who it is.
He won that game for him yesterday. He big. Guys were coming to the basket. They were paying the price. They were paying the price, and he blocked 7 shots. He was unbelievable. He made the difference. I mean, New York played them, wire to wire, but this young man off the bench, man, he was the star of that game. Although White and Brown were putting the ball in the hole.
Yeah,
his defense made the difference.
And you gotta have that, and
gotta have it.
Like, but here's the thing: it's not just in basketball; it's also in football too. Defense wins championships. Offense takes you there, but defense wins championships. And
we saw that.
We're gonna give you a little bit of a pass because we know you're born and raised in Philly, so it's Philly everything for you. I know. And I know you're an Eagles fan, but you benefited off a lot of Georgia Bulldogs to help you get that championship this year.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that.
This is our farm system.
That's tough. See, and see, that's tough for a man like me to take because
he didn't
Morgan
understand.
let
That's our
Cap
farm
slip
system.
out of it. We finally drafted one. We got one, but I think we could have had half of this defense at least in Atlanta right now that y'all won a championship with. But it's okay. We're gonna start pulling more, so it's all
It's the
good.
same draft, man. We have the same draft as you guys have. It's the same draft.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. But
It's the
see,
same draft.
but
Same
your
draft
franchise has had a history of actually winning. Now, y'all went into the dark ages in the 70s, but
Yes.
you look at y'all in the 40s. You look at the Eagles, fifth kind of fell off a little bit until 1960. And then you look at Dick Vermeil's time, and then you go to the Randall Cunningham days, and then the Philly has always been competitive, and then the Andy Reid years was just a pain for us in Atlanta. So it's tough to think about because we've lost to you guys 2 times in critical games that could have probably sent us to Super Bowls. So it's still a tough pill for me to swallow, and it hurts because K-Dub and myself are Bulldog fans. So it hurts to watch guys we used to pull for while they were wearing the red and black winning a Super Bowl in another city. And they could have been in Atlanta.
Didn't we just get another Bulldog in the draft?
Yeah, you got Smile Monday, and another one. Boy,
he don't understand. That's our farm system.
Well, you got look, you actually got somebody that's got some common sense, and look, I don't talk good about Florida Gators at all. Howie Roseman is a Florida Gator alum, so he understands from all those butt whoopings his Florida Gators take, and he decides to go get the winning team. I don't understand why my franchise want to keep going and get these old sorry ass Gators. I'm sorry.
Local guys.
Yeah, I said it. No Florida Gators have worked out in Atlanta since they've been here. We can definitely look at the numbers and look at that. So if y'all want to argue that in the next show, y'all can. But I call a spade a spade. You know, maybe your fellow Philadelphian, Mr. Kyle Pitts, can actually put up some numbers for us this year because he's got a quarterback now. But as Myles Garrett said yesterday, the excuse was this. He said the excuse is out the window. Brock did 3 different quarterbacks in 1 year and broke Mike Ditka's over 50-year-old record and became one of the greatest rookie tight ends in NFL history in his first year. That's what we thought we were going to get with Kyle, but that's not the way it went. But you know what? Hopefully we get a little something. So are there any shout outs or anything that you want to give to the city or anybody that's watching the show tonight that you want to reach out to, Mr. Johnson?
Well, one of my old heads, Mr. Wally Jones, one of the guys I looked up to. And one of the great things about Philly guys, they always had an encouraging words for me when I was younger. It was because, you know, there's a lot of doubt when you're just getting in the league. You don't know if you're going to make it the next year. And, you know, always encouraging, man. And guys always had something good to say and pull me to the side and maybe need to work on this or whatever, or I heard this or that. So, you know, Earl Monroe and Wilt Chamberlain and a whole lot of guys, man, were pouring into me. And I credit them for my start, you know. So I really appreciate those guys, man. Really much so. I got one story for you. When I was drafted in Portland, this is a quick one. I told you the guy, when he said I was drafted, I thought I was going in the Army. But when I went to Portland in September, I did get drafted eventually that summer. So on September 9th, 1972 at 7 o'clock, I was sworn into the Army National Guard. At 9 o'clock, I signed my NBA contract and had my first practice.
Wow.
Was that, in the words of Darryl Dawkins, it was a double dip and a single trip.
Double dip and a single trip.
Man. I'll never forget that day, man. It's just one of those things.
Well, we definitely appreciate you for coming through, taking time with us through the cage or whatnot. You are more than welcome to come back. Or if you got some buddies that might want to tell some old stories from the NBA, NFL, they are welcome to come through the cage. And I also told you that I have some artwork that I'm going to have made for you, just like you saw when we were at the late, great Mr. Walt Hazard's retirement. Shout out to Mr. Walt Hazard and his family, one of the greatest point guards in Philadelphia history, and helped John Wooden win his first national championship, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
First East Coast player taken by UCLA. John Wooden didn't win with that Philly soul. So, hey, shout out to John Wooden for recognizing it. So we definitely appreciate you. And I'll be getting in touch with you probably sometime tomorrow or whatnot, so we can discuss further details about me getting these posters to you.
I'm easy to find.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. That was Mr. Ollie Johnson, one of the best in the game on the defensive side of the ball. And when you talk about it as an NBA vet, he is well respected, not only in the NBA, but also in the Philadelphia community and also in the basketball community around the world. So, K-Dub, how did you enjoy this interview, man?
Oh, it was great, man. Just going back down memory lane, hearing about some of the players that played in the mid to late 70s and early 80s. It was great. Like I say, man, I love basketball. I'm a basketball aficionado, but football is first. But second is basketball. So it was a great, entertaining interview. I hope everyone enjoyed it out there. The BirdCage listeners, subscribers, and like I say, we'll continue to keep putting out great content week in, week out. That's it.
So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is, I know you got to burn rubber for early in the morning, but I also got to do a little something for the BirdCage viewers. What I'm gonna go ahead and do for you guys, it's not gonna be on this thread. Once we end this show, I'm going to start a pop-up show so we can talk a little bit about the scheduling that just came out yesterday. So even if you got about 5 minutes, K-Dub, cool. If not, I understand. But I'm going to try to pop up something for the fans because they definitely were patient and they have been asking, and they definitely loved Mr. Johnson talking about his NBA days. But we also got to make sure that we tap into this Falcon schedule because guess what? We got some wins coming up this year. So, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode. We're getting ready to conclude this, and we're going to have a pop-up show for the fans with the NFL schedule for the Atlanta Falcons. I'll see you in a second. Ghosts.
Right.